Muslims are some of the dumbest people on planet Earth. This is a claim that was made by Christian apologist Andrew Wilson.
Persia, North Africa, South Asia has created some of the dumbest human beings on planet Earth. Everywhere Islam goes, the IQ goes like this.
However, is this claim true? In this video, I investigated some of the evidence he presented to prove that Muslims have low IQ. So, do Muslims have low IQ, or is Andrew lying? If you want to know, then please watch this video until the very end. So, let's get started.
The bottom 20 least productive sub-Saharan African countries. Wouldn't you know it, they're all Muslim. 99% Muslim in Somalia. Does anybody ever hear a joke about Somalian IQ? Saudi Arabia with an average 76 IQ. Who would have thunk it? Islam took an ethnic people that were at the heart of being the top of civilization, and through generations of Islam has turned them into the lowest IQ, some of the stupidest people on planet Earth. Everywhere Islam goes, the IQ goes like this.
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
What career?
But I'm not a rapper.
What?
It's just a straight up lie. So all the facts and figures he presented in the argument are basically from research paper by two guys by the name of Richard Lane and David Becker. Now, I did my research on these two gentlemen, and as it turns out, Richard Lane is actually a self-proclaimed scientific racist.
What? What the
So this guy was literally attending conferences about eugenics. So this guy is literally trying to push eugenics, right? So in case you guys don't know, eugenics is basically a kind of like pseudoscientific theory which tried to argue that some races of people are better than other races of people, right? But there's no scientific basis for this. He also took money from straight up white nationalist organization. This is actually in his own Wikipedia page, which says, Lane Ulster Institute for Social Research received $609,000 in grants from the Pioneer Fund between 1971 to 1996.
money?
The Pioneer Fund, by the way, is an openly racist donation program which supports a bunch of white nationalist groups. Now, this isn't just me saying, oh, these people are racist, therefore they're wrong. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm saying that these people's research cannot be relied upon at all because they have a habit of lying. So let me show you how these people lie in the research. In 1995, psychologist Leon Cumming actually wrote an article where he criticized some of the views of Lin and some of his research papers, and he absolutely destroyed him. Cumming argues that the studies of cognitive ability of Africans in Lin's meta-analysis cited by Richard Hairston and Charles Murray show strong cultural bias. Cumming also reproached Lin for concocting IQ values from test scores that have no correlation to IQ. So he's literally quoting test scores that has nothing to do with IQ. Cameron also noted that Lin excluded a study that found no difference in white and black performance and ignored this result of a study which showed black scores were higher than white scores. So basically he's cherry picking. This clown is cherry picking. In other words, he is lying by omission. He is a liar. He cannot be trusted. His research cannot be trusted. So all the data Andrew Wilson moron quotes, none of them can be accepted because this guy is unreliable. This guy is a liar, and therefore we cannot accept his information. We can take his whole argument and shove it in the trash.
Saudi Arabia, 50 to 58% with an average 76 IQ. Who would have thunk it?
So basically what he's doing here is he's cherry-picking data from Richard Lane, which shows IQ of Muslim countries being lower, instead of using modern data from modern times, which shows the IQ of Muslim countries to be much higher. So, for example, I actually found a bunch of new and latest research on IQ out of Muslim countries, and they don't match what this Andrew Wilson idiot is saying. For example, he said that Saudi Arabia has like 70 IQ or something. But this is a lie. Saudi Arabia actually has 97 IQ, according to most recent research from a website that gathers data about IQ tests. Also, the thing is that I love how he's talking about Saudi Arabia, which is one of the most richest and most powerful country in the Gulf. I mean, Saudi Arabia has a GDP of $1.27 trillion, which is way higher than many countries that has much higher IQ. For example, Taiwan, which has an IQ of 107, only has GDP that is much lower than Saudi Arabia. So how do you explain this? How do you explain Saudi Arabia, which has less IQ than Taiwan, being more successful and more rich than Taiwan? Like, how do you explain?
UAE, 54%, 82 IQ.
Also, he lies about UAE, which is 96, not 82%. Also, again, UAE has higher GDP than Austria, which has 99 IQ, higher than them. So again, like, how do you explain this? How do you explain UAE having higher GDP than a country like Austria, which has higher IQ? So if the idea is that higher IQ are smarter than lower IQ, then why is the lower IQ country like UAE, like Saudi Arabia, why are they more successful in terms of their economy?
Iran, 40%, 80 IQ.
He lies about Iran as well. Iran has an IQ of 106. Iran has a very high IQ, actually. As a matter of fact, it's among the top 7. This shows this guy's a liar. And both Lynn and Becker are also lying. Clearly, this is not the actual number. And you can tell because the numbers are too low.
Yemen, 45%, 62.9 IQ.
He also lies about Yemen, which has an IQ of 101, which is pretty high, not 62.
Qatar, 30%, 80.8 IQ.
He lies about Qatar as well, which has an IQ of 98.32 IQ, not 80 IQ.
Now, we're going to continue, right? Oman, 36%, 78.
He lies about Oman, which has 98.26, not 78 IQ.
Syria, 39%, 74 IQ.
The IQ of Syria is also very high. It's actually 104.84, not 70. So basically what this guy is doing, he's committing the cherry picking fallacy. He's cherry picking IQ tests, which shows Arab Muslims having IQ that are low, and ignoring tests that shows IQ of Arab Muslims very high. Right? So he's cherry picking.
Turkey, 25%, 86 IQ.
So again, like he lies about Turkey. Turkey also has a very high IQ, which is 103, not 86.
Jordan, 32%, 80 IQ.
Jordan also has very high IQ, which is 101. Again, not 80.
Egypt, 32%, 76 IQ.
Egypt has an IQ of 101. Again, not even close to being 70.
It goes on and on and on, and it just never gets better. Next slide, please.
Like this guy's a straight up liar. He lied about every single data. Like there's not a single data he didn't lie about. He lied about all of them. Now, are you telling me that he couldn't find other websites or other kind of like IQ gathering, I don't know, papers or whatever to compare and contrast with Lynn's research? Of course he could, but he chose not to do it because that would undermine his argument, right? So this guy's just a liar. He's cherry picking. Now, here's the thing. Even if I accept his point about IQ, the real kicker here is that using IQ to determine a person's intelligence is moronic. It's pseudoscience. Okay, this is basically eugenics, by the way. That's because IQ tests cannot represent the proper scope of human intelligence. It's just not possible. So basically what IQ tests do, it basically measures people's certain type of problem solving skills, and that's it. Having high score on like some test paper is not the same as having very high intelligence. That's because many times it happens that there are certain type of criteria of intelligence that doesn't fit into the IQ test, right? For example, things like creativity, things like emotional intelligence. Like these things are not factored in when you're taking an IQ test. The thing is that just because you can solve problems on a paper doesn't mean you can solve problems in real life. For example, let's say that you are a very highly educated person in Harvard and you have a cushy job and you're working at the bank. Compare that with some child in African tribe who doesn't have access to water, who has to survive in a very harsh condition. Now, if we switch places, what do you think will happen? This highly educated person who lives his whole life in America, do you think he will be able to survive in these harsh conditions of African deserts like the children used to do? No. That's because how intelligent someone is depends on their context and on their environment. Because this African child and this African tribe have lived in that harsh environment all their life, in that environment, they'll be a lot smarter than this kind of like highly educated Harvard graduate from United States. So on that condition, this Harvard graduate will be dumber than this African tribe. However, if you take this African tribe and put them in like Wall Street, they will be a lot dumber than, say, this Harvard graduate, right? So it depends. So intelligence is not a monolith, and it definitely doesn't have anything to do with IQ, because all IQ does is measures a certain aspect of intelligence, not all of it. Now, to prove my point, let me show you a man named Christopher Langan. So Christopher Langan had a very high IQ. He had nearly an IQ of 200, right? Which is insane. Now, I want you guys to guess. Who do you think this guy was? Like, do you think he was like a trillionaire? Do you think he had like a massive company like Bill Gates? Or like Elon Musk, $1 trillion company like that? No, he was a horse rancher. Like, these guys are nobody. And the funny thing is that there are many articles written on him, but people wonder why people like him who have such high IQ did not amount to anything in real life. That's because IQ is bullshit. It doesn't prove anything. Just because you're doing well in an IQ test doesn't mean you're actually smart in real life. Sure, you can solve some problems on paper. That doesn't mean you can solve problems in real life. And this is actually proven by a recent study that came out. For example, on Cell.com, they actually posted an article where two researchers actually researched this topic regarding IQ test, and they completely debunked IQ. right? We're using IQ to measure intelligence. So basically the article says, we expected a few hundred response, but thanks to articles in Discovery and New Scientist, 110,000 people took part from every corner of the world. Once I had used statistical methods of analyze more than a million data points on a representative group of around 45,000, I found that when a wide range of cognitive abilities are probed, the variation in performance can only be explained with at least 3 distinct components: short-term memory, reasoning, and finally a verbal component. Not one component or IQ explained all the variation revealed by tests. So basically what they did is that they basically took the concept of measuring intelligence and they added a few different things, right? Things like creativity and whatnot, right? So it's a much more broader test that they did. And then when they compared this test with like IQ test, the IQ test couldn't explain the results. This study basically proves that IQ is dumb. Like using IQ to judge people's intelligence is stupid. To the point where it's just pseudoscience. You cannot do this. Like you cannot use IQ test to judge people. And thank you guys for watching. If you guys like the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to support me, you can support me by becoming a Patreon or YouTube member. And inshallah, I'll see you guys next time. Inshallah,